Hello and welcome. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kuber, CICC licensed immigration consultant, talking to you again about this week's roundup, things that have happened, bombs that have been thrown and on people's faces, draws that have happened, changes that have been made, announcements that have been made. All of this, that's what we're going to talk today. First thing off the bat, Ontario, my God, Ontario. Yeah, we did see that notification that came from Ontario some time back that they have already implemented their new changes, amendments in their regulation, and therefore, if they wanted, they will cancel and refuse or return any applications that they think they should. And that's what they did. They started by having suspended the Ontario's skilled trade stream, and by that, not only have they suspended, all in-process applications have been returned back. Of course, they will also refund the application fees. Now, when I posted this on Twitter yesterday, I personally think it's a very horrible decision, and I will explain it to you. Before you just jump off your seats and start talking all rubbish, let's just take a moment and then step back and then see why at least why I am saying, at least hear me out, right? Why I'm saying this is a horrible decision. This process, this program, I understand, has been plagued with fraud, and that is one of the reasons why Ontario, rather, that is the only reason why Ontario has given that they are choosing to suspend this program and return all the applications. That's the reason given by them. Now, the point here is that if this program is really plagued with so much of fraud, what took them so long? And it's not like they suddenly woke up one fine day and they realized there is so much of fraud. So they obviously were aware. They were, they were familiar with whatever was going on with this. They accepted applications in March. They accepted applications in April. They continued to put those people on hold. They put their lives on hold. They kept on saying that they're processing the applications and etc. etc. Yes, over the course of time, they identified some consultants, a lawyer, individual employers, and applicants who had defrauded the system. They were identified, they were punished, they were penalized, etc., etc. There were other applications during the course of the time that they have been refusing after having identified that there were some issues in the application. There were misrepresentations, etc. But was everybody a fraud? Was everybody scamming the system? Was everybody a person who was looking to take advantage? Or were there many people, many people who were actually legit, genuine, who really did work hard, who really had accumulated the required number of years or a number of months, actually it's just 1 year, right, of work experience in that specific trade, sometimes after having tolerated the abuse from the employer because they just had to get to that 1 year of mark. And if that is the case, and if that is acknowledged and that is understood, then isn't this a horrible decision that because it's your failure to not being able to identify who are the miscreants here or who are those guilty here, that we should just cancel everybody? Now, it's always the easy way out, right? It's always, let's just cancel everybody and we'll say, hey, we maintain system integrity. We are cutting down systematic misrepresentation. They use all these nice big flowery words and they all feel good about it. But is that how this has to be seen? That's where at least where I have the problem. This is like that old age saying that you're throwing the baby with the bathwater, right? What does that even mean, right? And these are the situations what we talk about when we say they use those quotes. Fair enough. You want to curtail the program. You want to shut down the program. Do it after having cleared everybody who was already in the program. Don't take any new applications. Don't entertain. But all those people who have been waiting since March, April last year, they've changed their statuses. They've gone to study permits. They've continued to stay as visitors. They even went on to LMIAs, got on some other work permits. They've gone back to the home countries, just holding their breath and waiting. Today we will hear from Ontario. All they heard was this, and this is quite, at least the way I'm looking at it, it's quite horrible. Not for the ones who have defrauded. Those, I mean, to those you should punish them in a manner that even everybody else who will be looking at that kind of a punishment should get deterred, right? That they should not be able to do it. They should be able to see that kind of penalties which are so harsh that it would discourage anybody else to take those kind of actions. But for everybody else who was really legit and genuine, this is feeling very harsh. And I know a lot of you have been commenting with your opinions, and I appreciate that, and I take them with a pinch of salt sometimes. That this is just the beginning. Okay, wait and watch. This is just the ball that has started rolling. Imagine what will happen if IRCC was going to do the same thing. This is just Ontario. There could be Alberta tomorrow. It could be BC the other, after that. It could be Saskatchewan after that. It could be Manitoba after that. There are so many of you out there who have their applications in pending stages for months and months and months. Imagine if this was to happen to you. What are you going to feel? Are you going to feel right now how you feel that, yes, these guys were scamming? It's good to cut the system down. Don't always look for the easy way out. Sometimes understand that in order to maintain the integrity of the system, you sometimes have to do the hard work, which Ontario obviously doesn't want to do. They would rather just cancel everybody and say, okay, get lost, go home. We will just start this again. And this way, we have earned our salary for all these periods of time, and we will continue to do it. And that's how we want to do it. This is like my way or highway. Of course, yes. What else can we do? You and I, we can just talk about it. We can only do these live streams, videos, chats, tweets, and reels, and we can just express our concern. But that's where it stops. At the end of the day, the people who have to make a decision have already made a decision. And people who are going to suffer, they will suffer. The people who are going to become victims, they will become victims, and we will all move on. We all have short-term memories, right? Before you know it, 1 week will pass, there will be another draws, and we would all either be rejoicing those draws or talking something else or talking about some other blasts and some other bombs that all these provinces would throw upon us, and that's it. This would long be forgotten very quickly. But for people who have wasted all this time, who have spent all this time, for them I really feel bad. Now, what can they do? And we will talk about that, as to what you can do, as to what you should be doing, etc., etc. A lot of people are talking about, shall we file a case? Shall we hire a lawyer and go to the court and take Ontario to the court? Well, it won't really work. And the reason why it won't work is because Ontario has built it in their regulations. It's in their legislation now. Okay, Section 7 allows them to cancel and return any applications that hasn't been decided. And so many of you, let me just pull this up. Hold on. That's the Ontario webpage. That's where they say all the applications have been returned. What is the reason? It says, as currently structured. So they are accepting the way their whole stream was made. It is vulnerable to systemic misrepresentation or fraud. And this vulnerability undermines the skills trade stream's ability to meet the immediate labor market needs of the province, taking into account Ontario's limited nomination allocation. As a result, the director has suspended. They will not take these applications anymore and will return all outstanding. This is in accordance with Section 7 of Ontario Regulation 421/17, approvals under the Ontario Nominee Program and other matters. And just on 31st of October, they had spoken about the recent changes. In the recent changes, they had said that this is now in effect. The changes that have been made, the amended regulations are now in effect. So 31st of October, they have published this, and 14th of November, they said this is what they're doing. Now, if I just very quickly take you down to the actual amendments and changes and what is Section 7, very quickly, because there are some of you out there who are quite concerned about this. So Section 7 is suspension and return of applications. These are basically the conditions under which a director of immigration in Ontario will return or suspend or refuse the applications and completely even cancel the streams, etc., etc. So you can take a look at all of this. But it was Section 6 which then a lot of you were talking about, that section 6 says if an applicant applies for an approval immediately before the day this regulation comes into force, the process that the director is required to follow uh, are those that have governed the application immediately before that day. So a lot of you were saying that this regulation came into effect only on the 31st of October. And since your applications were submitted on March, April 2024, you guys should not be impacted. Well, that is where reading the text and reading these regulations literally and then understanding and interpreting it is very, very important. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying all of that is that if you take a look at it, says if an applicant applies for an approval immediately before this regulation comes into force, this regulation came into force in 2017. All these changes that are being made, they are referred to as amendments. So the section 6 applies to the regulation, which is the entire regulation which came into effect in 2017. And in 2017, any applications that were already submitted were grandfathered, means the previous applications were processed as per the older regulations. The new regulations, when it came into effect from 2017, from that date onwards, the new regulations applied, or any applications after that. So if you applied in 2024, then you are still to be processed with section 7, and these changes are all amendments. This is not when the regulation came into effect. So this is the difference between section 6 and section 7. I know I've been getting a lot of messages where they say, well, section 6 says you can't do this. Well, section 6 is for the regulation. These are amendments, and amendments can in fact get your application refused. So Ontario has thought this out quite carefully before they made this, and they were aware that a lot of people would run to the court trying to get this decision quashed, but it won't work. There is precedence here. It has happened with IRCC. I think in 2003, they returned a lot of applications. There was a class action case, and then the applicants won because there was no such condition. After that, in 2013, 2012, also Jason Kenney was the immigration minister. They returned thousands of applications. There were again class actions, but though that time none of the class actions were actually be able to get through anywhere. IRCC won; those applications remained cancelled. Then I think in 2018 or 2019, I don't remember when that was. There was this about family class sponsorship, parents, grandparents, right, where people were able to make an application and they had to apply on one particular time at one given day and time, and whoever could submit their applications for parents were accepted and the others were not. And the people who could not submit their applications, they actually went to the court saying that there was a lot of restrictions in the system was not fair, and behind the doors, closed doors, IRCC did accept all those applications quietly. Nobody came to know, and so whoever did make that case actually went through. I mean, their applications went through. So in this case, will people who want to file a case against Ontario, will they have any chance? The likelihood is very, very less. I don't see it happening. The regulations were already in force, and the text is pretty clear. And of course, I'm sure you can consult with a lawyer if you're looking to do it. But that's basically the bombshell that we are faced with this particular week. Of course, there was also some good news, right? This week saw finally the express entry draws coming back, or rather appearing more consistently. We saw a more consistent CEC draw, though it was still a 1,000 draw invitation, but PNP draw and then a 1,000 draw invitation. That basically meant that there would be a category draw. And out of the blues, at least I did not anticipate a healthcare draw. It did happen, healthcare. I mean, I was thinking more like they would conduct a trades draw, and at least that's what I was thinking. But I guess with all this commotion happening with Ontario, maybe, I don't know, they wanted to sort of put a trade on the bit of a back burner for the time being, and they conducted a healthcare draw. Now, healthcare, surprisingly, now we saw the ATIP notes, right? I'm sure I've shared it with you. You've seen it as well. It indicated that they'd be looking to invite about 8,000 people. That 8,000 is long surpassed, right? Now they have invited about 13,000. Is that the number? 13,500, 13,000, that kind of a number. 13,500, that many invitations have been issued for the healthcare category, and we keep going. So this is what is happening in this week as of right now, and more to come. And we will talk a lot about all those things. And okay, what is the fault of genuine Ontario skilled trade applicants waiting for a year or more? I agree with you. There is no, it's not your fault. And the problem is that whenever things like this happen, uh, people do get hit by something like this. Look at what happened when LMIA points were gone, right? LMIA points were taken. Should that have happened? Well, I guess it was long overdue, because even with LMIAs, a lot of fraud was being committed. Did genuine people not suffer? Yes, a lot of genuine applicants suffered. Ask anybody who is in Canada on an intra-company transfer. Ask anybody who is in Canada on a C10 work permit. Ask anybody who was on that senior position job offer, which was getting them 200 points. They will all tell you that they were the victim, and it was no fault that all these people who were buying and selling LMIs, because of them, they lost out. But I guess this is in precedence right now, as far as IRCC or as far as Canadian authorities are concerned. This happens. It's like, yeah, I guess taking the easy way out is now becoming a bit of a norm here. Yeah, that's basically what's happening right now. What else have I got before I start off? I'm worried about the Ontario Masters stream because they haven't done a draw in a long time. Will they restart or cancel the stream? I have an AIP job offer, legitimate offer, da da da. Should I move or should I wait? You should move. You should get anything and everything possible that you can as an available option, and lock it. Don't just depend on something which may or may not happen. And I guess human capital priorities is another one of those streams where anything can happen. Human capital priorities technically is the only free program. Now, when I'm saying free program, by that what I mean to say is that that's the only program where you don't really need any job offer. You don't need anything from which ties you to the employer. So you could technically be anywhere in the world, and you could have been eligible as far as OINP's human capital priorities is concerned. And it's a very, very popular program. People look forward to that program from everywhere. So I'm not sure how Ontario is going to play out that one. After having cancelled the skilled trade stream for Ontario, there are still thousands of applicants who are still in the pipeline. There was a draw in October 2024, which was largely for the human capital priorities. Those applicants are still waiting. We don't know which direction that train's going to chug along in, but they are equally quite concerned as well. Genuine already has one chance. They send email regarding documents of COQ. I'm not sure what we're talking about here, but genuineness genuineness is understandable, but COQ and apprenticeship, I'm not sure what you're referring to here. Okay. Do you think education category will still be on or discontinued for 2026? Very difficult to say. I haven't seen anything which says in either direction. I haven't seen anything which says that this will continue or this will be stopped. So I can't tell you. We'll have to wait until next year early to see what categories are being announced. At this point of time, there is nothing that indicates it will continue or it will be stopped. Can IRCC refuse PR if international income is not disclosed accurately? Well, there is no requirement to disclose international income, actually. So I'm not sure what you are referring to, but you know what? We are digressing. So let's get back on track and let's start talking about, let's start talking about this, the Immigration Weekly Roundup. That's what we are here for. Starting with topics of discussion. And of course, there was express entry draws. The most recent one was the healthcare category, 14th of November, 3,500 invitations issued and score of 462, which would have brought a lot of cheer to a lot of people because they were really, really anxious. Because what would have happened is that had IRCC not conducted a draw in healthcare the way they have conducted now, and mind you, 3,500 is a pretty decent size score. And had they not continued with this, then the scores would have not gone down, the scores would have gone up. And you know that. And when the scores would have gone up, that would have not been a very pretty sight, because a lot of people would have lost chance. Now, healthcare predominantly is very important, not because of all the PSW people, people who have been doing the PSW course. They are the ones who are pretty much clogging the system at the top. But it's the real nurses, doctors, physiotherapists, and several other categories of healthcare, which Canada really needs, but who are pretty much in that level of 430 to 450, which we need to get to. Imagine a doctor who is outside Canada, age of 35, 37, has all the right credentials. They will not be able to get to the score of 462. Why? Because of the age. So we need to clear this number to get to that real value addition knock code, the value addition candidates who are sitting in the pool. So I'm happy to see this, and I hope they conduct another big one so we can get to that real numbers, and hopefully more and more people can get eligible and get through. What else have we got? Then there was obviously a PNP program, PNP program draw in Express Entry, which was on the 10th of November, Mondays. So when you see a draw on Monday, nowadays that's become the routine and a trend. If you see a Monday draw with PNP, then you know there should be a couple of more draws hopefully coming through. This one, IRCC invited 714 candidates through the PNP program, and 738 was the score. Now, PNP program basically here means that these individuals had applied through the Express Entry linked PNP stream. They got 600 points. With that 600 points, their scores went up, and hence they were invited in this particular program. There was also a CEC draw. Now, this is very, very strange. How is it that earlier IRCC was conducting draws after a month, right? So there was a draw in August, September, October, and now we've had in November. I think there was one before that as well. They invited 1,000 people every single month, and 534 was the score. Then it came down to 533, and now yet we are stuck with 533, and this time the draw happened after 2 weeks. So something is amiss. Kuch to gadbad hai daya. I don't know what it is, but something is not seeming right here. Why are we stuck at 533? How is it that they come to that exact number of 533, 534 after having invited 1,000 people? It's really, really strange and fishy. I'm not sure what exactly is going on. I know there is a lot of talk about fake profiles, duplicate profiles, all that jazz, but who has got the patience? Who's got the time to sit and keep creating fake profiles? Unless all those people who were at 534, 533s, they were getting invited, but for whatever the reason is, a large number of them are declining their ITAs. Now, I'm not sure how many of them would be that stupid to do so, because there is no guarantee that you will keep getting invited again. But unless a lot of them are doing something of that sort, which is crazy, I don't see how we are stuck at 533. That's a very strange one. I couldn't crack this code at all. Look at the pool. 26,414 people with score of 501 and 600. So now this number is again creeping up. Okay, and when this number is creeping up and they have only issued 1,000 invitations, means now the new pool breakdown would actually show 25,000 approximately 414 people. But of course, as you know, a lot of people who would have gotten invited, they will decline their ITAs. There will be a lot of other people who would be completing their work experiences. They will all be coming into the pool. Ever since the news of concurrent work experience has come out, more and more people are now aware of concurrent work experience, remote work experience. That's also recipe for disaster in terms of fake. Now when I look at this, what happened with LMIAs, right? They completely cancelled the points for LMIA. Then came the issue with Ontario, right? Ontario, they have cancelled the entire stream throughout all the applications. What is IRCC going to do with all this fake work experience which is being created, right? Sure you know, right? Remote work experience. Come on. Your friend's company, your uncle's company, your father's company, your relative's company. you are working remotely, you can find the job so easily, you're getting paid, payment comes correctly into the bank, and like just like this, you found a job. People are struggling to find a job. You find a job with a click of a finger. I mean, come on. I mean, we all know what's cooking in here. We all know that. Now, my question is that will IRCC be doing something about this, or this will be another throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Cancel everybody's foreign work experience? Are you able to do that? Because this is the beauty, right? This is where it becomes very interesting. Can you really cancel foreign work experience points? This would be very interesting. It's already clear that they can make amendments to the ministerial instructions to have immediate effect. That was the case with the LMIA points. If they now have to make changes so that you don't get points for foreign work experience, that is going to be very interesting. That would take a lot of changes to the GC key, to the whole express entry program systems. They would really have to rehash the whole system completely. What happens with because now it's not only the ministerial instructions that have to be changed, they also now have to change the IRPA and IRPA, Immigration Refugee Protection Act and regulations, because foreign work experience is built in there because it establishes the eligibility of federal skilled worker program. By you removing the foreign work experience completely, you are completely removing the federal skilled worker program. Then what happens to the French categories? Like, because as you and I, we all know, most of the candidates who are coming through the French categories are outside Canada. A lot of candidates who are coming through these education categories, healthcare categories, they're outside Canada. So when you talk about global talent, attracting global talent, how will you attract global talent if you cancel foreign work experience? So it's something which is very interesting to understand. What are they going to do with this? Their inability to identify foreign work experience, which is fraud and which is genuine. That's the reason I am a very strong advocate that IRCC should go back to conducting in-person interviews for all applications. All applications. US does it, and millions of people travel to the US for all kinds of applications. And if US can do it, why can't Canada do it? Go back to doing an in-person interview for every single applicant. At least it will bring it will re-energize the program integrity. Talk to everybody. You will be very quickly be able to see who can actually speak French and who's actually faking French results, who can actually speak in English, or who's actually faking your English test scores. The work experience, you will be very able to very quickly tell who has genuine work experience, who's faking it. But you don't want to be doing that, right? Because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of money. But money is always coming. And then in spite of that, you would rather just cancel application. So this one is going to be very interesting to see if they actually do something with foreign work experience. The way I look at it, I don't think so. I don't think foreign experience is going anywhere. And the reason for that is very clear, because if they have to remove foreign work experience completely, a lot will have to be changed. And it's not going to happen that easily, or they can't do it that easily. So that's why. PNP draws. We did have some PNP draws this week. Newfoundland and Labrador issued 330 invitations, out of which 110 were for the AIP. Manitoba issued 47 letters of advice, largely for strategic recruitment initiatives through the employer services, francophone communities, regional communities, ethno-cultural communities, and everybody else who's sitting and working and waiting under all other streams in Manitoba. You guys can go and drink some chai and feel happy. Alberta, October 23, 24, 20, 28, 29, they issued 1,162. Well, Alberta is on the roll. They haven't stopped. Even their quotas were cut, slashed into half. They haven't stopped. I'm not sure where they're getting all these nomination quotas from, but they probably are now already drawing out from their inventory of next year. So this included 900 invitations under the Alberta Opportunity Stream, 142 under the Dedicated Healthcare Pathway, 60 under the Express Entry Priority sectors, they invited from construction, and about 10 from the Law Enforcement Pathway. And Alberta is continued to focus on workforce needs in healthcare, construction, law enforcement, and other in-demand sectors. This you already know by now. This is quite plain and simple. This is Ontario returning all the applications under the skilled trade stream. We already spoke about this. Quebec has also decided to terminate Quebec Experience Program on the 19th of November, PEQ, and they are also extending LMIA suspensions, so they will not be processing any LMIA applications, and they are looking to introduce French requirement for their CAQ issuance. So people who are looking to apply for LMIAs and CAQ in Quebec, you should be wary that they will now be looking to have French language proficiency there. I don't think we have a date. 17th of December 2028 is the French verification. That's when it will come into force. Auditor General Ontario, we only have the report from 2024. I think very soon we will also have a report for 2025. Now in 2024 report, they already did raise a lot of concerns. So this was again something which, as I said, people who knew, they knew that this was probably going to happen. The Auditor General's report had very clearly indicated or raised concerns about the integrity of skilled trade stream, fake offers and payroll was plenty, and they said that a lot of people who were creating these fake payrolls, they only needed 1 year of work experience. So it's very easy to create that fake payroll, and therefore there was integrity concerns. And that is exactly what happened from Ontario. They completely clamped down. Not only that, now please bear in mind, skilled trade stream of Ontario has not been cancelled, means that stream still exists. It has been suspended. It could be reinstated, skilled trade stream. However, there are proposals that were made under the Auditor General's report under recommendation 10, where it said that the applicants should have a valid job offer. They should be employed in the position when they are nominated, and they should stay employed throughout the process until they become PR. Now, this you would say is the same thing as employer job offer stream, but I think the difference here is the no requirement for the median wage, no requirement for 2 years of experience. So as long as you have 1 year of experience, you have a job offer, you are working for that employer. So there could be some permutations and combinations of it, some changes that might be applied, but stay tuned and look forward to that changes that will come under the skilled trade stream of Ontario, because I cannot believe that Ontario will completely cancel this stream. I think this stream will make a comeback. I think this will come back in some shape or form, obviously with a little bit more restrictions, but I think this will certainly come back. And it says ministry has already accepted this recommendation. So yeah, you can see that happening. Now, master's graduate and human capital streams are also expecting a rebalance, because the Auditor General report of 2024, mind you, 2024, not 2025, that report hasn't been published. The Auditor General's report of 2025 will be published in Jan 2026, and we will know what that includes. But the Auditor General's report of 2024 also indicated that Ontario has a disproportionate amount of nominations being approved for master's stream. Probably that is the reason why you did not see anything clearing out in 2025 at all, or you did not see anybody, getting new invitations in master's graduate stream. And they also indicated the same thing for human capital stream, as in indicating that people who came to Ontario without the job offer, they didn't really stick around for very long. What else is this going on? So what this means for future applicants, Ontario's message is becoming very clear that they are looking for people who have job offers to stay put there, and that's where the primary target is going to be. Northwest Territories nominee program has reopened on the 10th of November, and they will be taking in 103 applications, which they will be processing before the 24th November deadline. I don't think this will last for very long. Humanitarian and compassionate cases outside Quebec, it takes 10 plus years for the processing now. And there are more than 50,000 people in the queue, and the numbers are increasing because people somehow believe that if you don't have any other option, you should file for humanitarian and compassionate ground, which is such a horrible way of going about an application stream, because this stream is not going to give you any status in Canada. You can't apply for anything while this application is being processed. Only once you get your approval in principle, you may be eligible to apply for a work permit, but approval in principle can take time as far as this stream is concerned, and the refusal rates remain very high. So there are a lot of people in Canada, and I do a lot of consultations where people will ask this question, that can I apply under HNC? Well, for people who are looking to apply under HNC, you should know that the threshold, the bar is very, very high for you to be able to prove what are those humanitarian and compassionate grounds that exist. For example, why do you need to be in Canada? What are your ties to Canada? What have you done in all this time that you were in Canada, which shows that your ties are very strong with Canada? And more importantly, what are those exceptional hardships that you're going to face if you were to leave Canada? So you have to establish both and provide evidence of both. So the bar is really very high, and it's not very easy to get through or approval with this application. So please be very careful before. And having a Canadian child basically means if you're in Canada as a student, if you're in Canada as a worker, and you have given birth to a baby in Canada who's now a Canadian citizen. So having a baby who's a Canadian citizen is not the grounds for humanitarian and compassionate grounds. So please don't make that mistake. Don't lose your money to all these agents and consultants and say, okay, we will file an HNC application. You might land up losing your money and a lot of sanity as well in the process. Other news, we do have other news too. Okay. Average processing times for LMIAs, for people who are interested, global talent stream is only 10 business days, but permanent resident streams, which is the high wage LMIA also earlier, which used to be, is 267 days, close to almost, 9 months? Wow. Canada has indicated that they will be prioritizing the applications for PhD students. So if you're a doctoral study student, and if you can submit your application, you will see faster processing of only 2 weeks, and your spouse and children can also apply with you together. And there is also a reduced requirement for PAL and TAL. PAL stands for Provincial Attestation Letter. TAL is to Territorial Attestation Letter. You no longer need that for Masters and PhD. If your program is from a public university, then you don't need to submit a PAL-TAL. So that's another change that I've made. That's pretty much it that happened as far as this week is concerned. Connect with us on all social media platforms. We are everywhere. We are there on all platforms. Yeah, pretty much everywhere. And yeah, if you are looking to hire an immigration consultant, do consider us. We seem to be pretty good at what we do. You can drop us an email. There you go. There, that's the email. That's the email up there here. Support@askkuber.com. If you wish to hire a consultant, by all means, please do. We'll be very happy to give you a quotation and then obviously take away your application as your representative. And if you wish to book an appointment for consultation, that's here. And for Instagram, that's up there. askkuber.com/appointment. By all means, book a consultation. We can discuss more in details about your situation. But if you're booking a consultation just to ask what your chances are, then I will tell you the chances right now. If you are needing a consultation to ask for chances, then the chances are that it's going to be pretty low, pretty grim, pretty dull. Because if your chances are good, you don't really need a consultation for somebody to tell you whether your chances are good or not. So that's the first answer. Secondly, the chances are always restricted to these things. Learn French, find an employer, improve your language skills score, get work experience in a priority occupation. These are your options. In very few cases, go for another study program, get foreign work experience, go back to your home country. That's it. These are all the possible options. I'm telling you right now, don't need to book a consultation. So these are the chances. And if you really need to book a consultation for that, I think the chances, you will not be very, you will be disappointed, because for some reason people think that there are some secret paths and doors that I can open in the consultations. I can't. There aren't any. What is known to everybody is known to me. Everything is available on IRCC website. You can obviously always check. But for God's sake, don't follow ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives horrible advice. Wrong knock codes, wrong programs, wrong options, wrong interpretation of so many different things. Don't use ChatGPT. Use your own brains. read with your own eyes, understand with your own brain, but don't use ChatGPT for knowing your chances. You will really, really get into trouble. That's it. As of today, one of the most another developing story. I have to tell you this guys. A couple of things. First of all, people who create multiple express entry profiles and they choose different knock codes because they want to get multiple chances of being invited, you guys are in for trouble. IRCC is now clamping down on people who create multiple express entry profiles. In one profile they show something else, in the other profile they show something else, thinking whichever one they will get invited. Trouble. uh, I have seen people who have consulted with me over the last week. I've seen two cases of procedural fairness letter, one case of a possible misrepresentation for having done that. So please be very careful with what you do with your multiple profiles. Or if you have taken an agent before, that agent has filed on your behalf, and that agent earlier wrote you a trucking supervisor. Then the knock code changed, they made you a butcher. Then the knock code changed, now they are making you a pharmacy assistant. In 3 years you had three occupations at the same point of time. What do you guys think? IRCC is stupid, really? I mean, that you will tell anything. And I mean, you guys really have to be living on a different planet when you do these kind of things. And then you book a consultation and you think I will have a solution. I don't. You've already made caca with all this rubbish that you have done. When you use these agents who tell you I will get your ITA by doing all these things, and whenever there is a new category, we will show your work experience as that category. It doesn't work like that. Every time you enter anything in your profile and you save it, it's electronic digital footprint which is recorded. Even if you withdraw the profile, even if you revoke your GC key, that information remains. Everything that you do on the internet, it stays there, especially on the IRCC database. What are you guys thinking? You think it's some sort of a dark web that nobody will know who you are, and you will change some information there? It doesn't work like that. Please be very careful. Do not make those kind of big boo-boos. You won't get out of that one. Another one which is coming up, another scam which is uploading, which is developing. And this scam is about, I don't know if I should say this because, oh boy. This scam is about certificate of qualification. Certificate of qualification is another one which is becoming a big nuisance because a lot of people are getting into it. So before you get into it, please be very careful, because what happens, I'll tell you what happens. In certificate of qualification, you are getting a certificate of qualification, and to get a certificate of qualification, you have to be able to show that you have work experience. In your study permit, you have had no work experience. In your postgraduate work permit, you did not have work experience. In your express entry profile, you are not showing that work experience, but you have got certificate of qualification. Then IRCC is asking, hey, you know what? You have a certificate of qualification. The requirement for the certificate of qualification is that you should have 4,000 hours of work experience. How did you get this certificate of qualification? And then you have no answer. And then you want to book a consultation asking, so how do I get out of this mess? You can't. You are lying. This is pure fraud. This is pure misrepresentation. And people like you have to get banned. You should get banned. And I will certainly not help you in that situation. So when you are signing up, when you're making a deal with the devil and you are choosing to commit fraud, then be prepared when you get slapped for it. Then there are not going to be many solutions out of it. Okay, solutions are for those people who have gotten into problem for no fault of their own. They didn't even know that they were getting into trouble. This, what you are doing, is not for no trouble, for no fault of your own. You know exactly what you're trying to do. You are an active party, willing party to a fraud. So if you get slapped around, we shall all be very happy and celebrate that. Because of people like you, everybody suffers. Look at what is happening with Ontario. Look at what happened with LMIA. Okay, so if you are committing fraud, if you are committing misrepresentation and getting slapped around, trust me, whenever we find out, we will all celebrate. We will all be happy to see at least another one of you guys thrown out and banned for 5 years. Very happy to see that. So therefore, I'm letting you guys know that if you are thinking, or if you're contemplating, or if you're being sold that idea of a fake certificate of qualification, fake as in the certificate of qualification is genuine, the premise under which you have received that is all rubbish and fake, be very careful. IRCC is watching, and this is version 3.0. They are not, taking it lying down. So be very careful with that. Questions. If my closed work permit is still valid when I get ITA and AOR and apply for bridge open work permit, will I have implied status and open work authorization? To the answer to the first question is yes. To the second one is no. The first one is, will you have implied status? Yes, you will have implied status. The second one is no, you will not have open work authorization, because what is the meaning of maintained status? Maintained status is that you maintain the status of your previous valid status. So if you had a closed work permit, you will maintain the closed work permit authorization until your open work permit has been approved. And when that open work permit is approved, that is when you are welcome to work for any employer. Until that gets approved, you are on maintained status, means you can work, but only for the same employer that has been named on your closed work permit. And vice versa. If you are on an open work permit and you apply for a closed work permit, during maintained status, you can work for any employer. You're on an open work permit status. The day you get your closed work permit, now you are bound by the employment conditions of that closed work permit. Only work for that work permit, only work for that employer on that work permit. Will the federal trade draw continue next year? Well, I don't know. I hope so. I think trades continue to be a priority. So yes, they should continue. For NSNP skilled worker. Oh, hold on. So federal trade draw. So when you are talking about federal trade draw, if you're talking about the federal skilled trade category, that category has been on a standstill, and from 2021 they haven't conducted a draw. If you're talking about a category within express entry for trades, I think that will continue. NSNP skilled worker, do I need to show my back home pay stubs? If I show that experience to make 1 year, if I have job here, do I need to show funds? Any kind of work experience, if you have to be able to prove that, then pay stubs, bank statements that shows that you were paid, you have to prove, you have to show, because that is one very important component of you trying to prove your work experience, that you are paid. So you have to show. FSW, can I show mutual funds as proof of funds? Secondly, got money from parents in savings account, need to show gift letter for that money received recently. Can you show mutual funds as proof of funds? No. And the reason for that is mutual funds are subject to risk and market conditions, which basically means, God forbid, something goes wrong with a fund and they go into zero, then your proof of funds are poof, gone. Yeah, I mean, chances of that happening are less, but they can also speculate, right? They can go down, they can go up. And therefore, IRCC does not like to see mutual funds. If at all, you can liquidate them, bring them back into your account, show the proof where the money came from, and you may use that as proof of funds. As far as gift deed is concerned, yeah, if there is money coming into your account which has been given to you as a gift from parents or siblings, please add gift deed. 525, any chances early next year? Yes, I personally feel yes. Once IRCC goes back to conducting regular draws, then yes. Do you think Ontario will do the same with master's graduate applicants? My file is in progress since September 24. Very difficult one to answer. I don't see any fraud happening in master's graduate stream, because all you needed was to have studied master's degree in Ontario and score those points to be eligible. There is very little leeway for fraud in that stream. So for them to cancel that stream will have to be for a different reason, definitely not for fraud. Do I think they will do the same with master's graduate applicants? I would hate to say yes. I don't think so. I hope not. So yeah, I really hope not. But I can't say whether they will cancel or they will not cancel. Right now, Ontario is in a different mode. I think they don't want to deal with the applications of 2024 anymore at this point of time. But unless there is a real reason, I don't see why they would want to cancel those. Waiting for my postgraduate work permit, 5 years software engineering experience, max CELPIP, job lined up, CRS 515 without Canadian experience. Is FSW worth applying? So it is not about worth applying or not. It is always worth having an active express entry profile. That's for sure. Okay. But how do you have 515 without Canadian experience? That is the question. You should have a PhD and you should have a sibling. Only then would you get to 515. Even then, 515 is very difficult to get to. So I'm not sure how you got to 515 without any Canadian experience. Very interesting. But to answer your question, should you apply to FSW? It's not about applying to FSW. It's about creating an express entry profile. And one should always have an active express entry profile. I have implied status as I have applied for postgraduate work permit. Can I travel back home while waiting for postgraduate work permit and come back and continue working? I have valid TRB. The answer to your question, Ronak, is yes. If you are on a maintained status as a postgraduate work permit, you can travel outside. If you have a valid TRB, you can come back to Canada and you will continue working on your postgraduate work permit maintained status. Now, this is postgraduate work permit maintained status is the only status under which you can leave the country and return back and still continue working on that authorization. Okay, that is the only stream, because postgraduate work permit is also the only stream where you are changing your status from a student to a worker and you have maintained status. Under any other condition, so for example, if you are applying for a work permit extension, if you are applying from postgraduate work permit to a spouse open work permit, in all those conditions, if you leave Canada, then you lose your maintained status. You cannot return back and start working. Postgraduate work permit is the only work permit stream where if you travel outside Canada and return back, you can continue working on that maintained status. That's the only stream that you can. 528 permit ends April next year. Am I safe? I would like to say yes, you are. 528 is pretty awesome score. Only if IRCC starts conducting regular size draws, and I hope they do. My HR has RCIC who's supposed to give me NS 200. I think you mean NSNP 200. You're talking about the Nova Scotia PNP. And it's more than 1 month and she doesn't respond properly. What do I do? Submitted all requested documents. Well, you can file a complaint for unethical practice, for not responding to you, for not keeping in touch with you. You can file a complaint against the RCIC. You can send an email to RCIC warning them that you will file a complaint. You can also take it up with your employer, with your HR, saying that the RCIC is not responding and is not helping you out. So first take it up with your HR, then write an email to the RCIC telling that this is not acceptable and that you will raise it with CICC, who is the regulator, and then actually do it. I submitted my restoration plus bridge application yesterday. They haven't received any AOR. Why haven't you received your AOR? Does IRCC issue an AOR for this type of application? Yes, of course. The minute you submit an application online, there is a confirmation you get immediately that the application has been submitted. Once you get that AOR, then that's your AOR. Mind you, you can't work until you get the approval because this is with restoration. So you will have to wait till your application is approved. Only then you can start working. I have applied for mom's visitor visa extension. How long to stay on maintained status? To be 6 months soon, no entry stamp. As long as it takes. The maintained status continues. If you applied for the extension of your mom before the expiration of her stay of 6 months after the date of entry, then she will be on maintained status and she can continue staying, no problem. And you don't have an entry stamp, that's perfectly fine. If you remember the exact date that she arrived and you made an application before the expiration, then you're absolutely fine. Please don't worry. If place of birth in travel document only shows that country, what should be shown in IMM 008 as per birth certificate or travel document? Well, if it is only the country, then you show the place of birth as per your birth certificate. That's absolutely fine. So you name the city, comma, the country, and that's absolutely fine. My employer emailed me T4 and company later went bankrupt. I filed my taxes using the T4, but I can't find it in my CRA account. Is this a problem? No, it's not a problem. You can request CRA to send you a copy of the T4. You should be able to get a copy of the T4 even from the employer. Just talk to them. email them and ask them for a copy of T4. If you don't have T4, write a letter of explanation to IRCC. Instead, provide your notice of assessment, provide your pay stubs, and provide all the bank statements that it shows salary credit. So from your side, provide all these additional documents to establish that you were getting paid. Suspended normal trade draw like September 25, 505 CRS? No. As of right now, only Ontario's skilled trade stream has been suspended. The 505 CRS draw, which happened under the human capital priorities, is still active. Hopefully, it remains active. Can I email IRCC for follow-up on EAC OPR? Yes, of course, you can. You can raise a web form. You can send an email to the same email address from which you received your P1. But they don't really respond to that easily. You will probably have to have patience and wait. I'm on implied status, applied for non-express entry in September, no AOR. Can I apply for visit visa for my wife? She's working in India. Well, technically, yes, you can apply for a visit. So you are not applying for a visit visa. Your wife will apply for a visit visa. And if your wife has been included in your PR application, then when she applies for a visit visa, she will apply under dual intent. Actual intent being to apply for permanent residence, and you will show that you already applied for PR. And then the other intent, the temporary intent, is to visit Canada, to visit the spouse. That is what you will show under dual intent. And it's absolutely fine. Dual intent is acceptable. How long can I travel outside Canada without it affecting my ongoing CEC work experience during my postgraduate work permit? I don't want any experience to be deducted. 2 weeks. That's it. So if you travel, so it's not about traveling. It is about being on leave. So if you're working in Canada remotely, you're absolutely fine, even if you're traveling. But if you travel outside Canada in the sense of you being on leave, then it is 2 weeks acceptable. Anything more than that will be discretion of IRCC. 2 weeks paid vacation acceptable. If it is unpaid, even that won't count. PNP PR non-EE submitted October and PR CEC submitted November. So you have 2 applications. Work permit expires in February. Which work permit would spouse and primary applicant apply? Closed or bridge? Well, obviously apply for bridge. If you have a PR CEC submitted in 2025, why will you apply for closed? Always apply for bridge. No chance for trade draw this year under 500 CRS. Very difficult to say because it all depends on when IRCC will conduct the draws and how many invitations they will issue. How much fund do we need to show while we got ITA in trade draw in India in category-based draw? Can you tell me exactly the amount? You can take a look at IRCC website under proof of funds and calculate the funds as per the family size. For one person, I think it's 15,006 or 700. For 2 people, it's 19,001. For 3, it's about 22 or 23,000. But you can take the exact, I don't remember the exact amount. Can I apply for Manitoba work permit under temporary policy if I already have a pending spousal open work permit? If you have a support letter from Manitoba, then you can. But if you already have a pending spouse open work permit, then it doesn't make sense. But if you wish to apply, yes, you can, technically. But you need your support letter from Manitoba. My job moved from whatever to whatever, and only name owner change, same location, phone, duties, both reference letter shows. Do I need an explanation letter? Always a good idea to add an explanation letter in some cases, saying that the name has changed, the employer is the same. That's it. But always adding that information will help even IRCC with some clarity if they were to conduct a background check. So yes, do add a brief letter of explanation. 529 scores still April 26. My God, April 26 is like 6 months ahead. You know, I can't see 6 minutes ahead in future. If I could, wow. I mean, I can't even imagine what all I could do with that. But no, I can't see that far ahead in time. I would like to believe that that's an excellent score and that you should get through. I would like to believe, right? I don't know. It's all speculation. And only IRCC knows best as to what draws they would be inviting. But I do believe that if they were to start conducting the regular size draws of 3,000, 3,500, then we should start seeing more people getting invited with these scores. How much fund we are required to show in our profile as a couple? Well, you will need to show zero, and that is because you are CEC. As a Canadian experience class, you don't need to show any funds. So you can show any amount, zero to millions, whatever you want to show. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to provide any proof of funds because you're Canadian experience class. Employer is a trucking company. I work as an admin on payroll, planning to apply under OINP International Student Stream, but employer has 5 more people working on corporation, not payroll. Is employer eligible? No, the employer is not eligible. Because if the 5 people who are working are on corporation, means they are self-employed, means they are not employees. And Ontario has a specific condition and a requirement that the company, in order to be eligible to support you, should have 5 employees, right? Because Ontario is going to ask your employer for documentation and clarification. And people who are working on corporation are self-employed and they are not considered as employees. So therefore, your employer is not eligible. I have 2 years of back home experience, but in form of cash, not bank statements. I showed the same thing during study permit. What are the chances? Well, good chances, as long as you can prove this is legit, as you can provide all the documentation. I would recommend highly to provide pay stubs or cash vouchers or debit vouchers or payment register where you must have signed, or any kind of payment vouchers or cash or salary vouchers that you must have received, along with a letter from the employer, which is a salary certificate, confirming that they paid you in cash for this period of time. Will I need tier 012 job to apply for a minor 7-year study permit? No, you don't. There is no specific requirement to have a specific category job for a child's study permit, minor study permit. I can see COPR details in my tracker. All stages completed. Final decision has a date. What timelines for approval? Can I expect P1 travel is lined up? Well, first of all, congratulations. Unfortunately, there are no timelines. There are no dates. There is nothing. I have 2 clients who have a final decision since February of this year. February. Can you imagine? 10 months have passed. We have chased MP, web forms, CIC calls. We have done everything. Nothing. Zip. Nada. We're still waiting. So no, there are no timelines, unfortunately. You will just have to have patience and wait for yourself to get invited. Okay, did I miss this one? I have for sure authentic foreign architect's experience and a salary certificate. What else can I provide to prove my salary was paid in cash? As I explained earlier, cash vouchers, salary vouchers, debit vouchers, payment vouchers, whatever. You have to understand, right? No matter what kind of business, even if it's a corner grocery store, even that person writes on a register if they have paid out some money. Okay, you can say you didn't get pay stubs because it was cash, understandable. But every business maintains a record of what they have paid you, no matter how big a business or how small the business is. So it is your responsibility. The burden of proof is on you. So you have to prove that you were paid. So salary certificate and any kind of vouchers that establishes you were paid on that particular day for that amount, for that position, for that reason, please provide that. Can I apply for postgraduate work permit extension if I have 3 days postgraduate work permit short due to passport expiry? If yes, then me and my spouse both can apply. The answer is yes. If you received a shorter duration of postgraduate work permit, and if you have to apply for extension, then by all means apply. And if it is only 3 days short, then try and apply 1 day before expiry so you can get a long duration of maintained status, which will be much longer than the 3 days that you are owed. 6 months as food services supervisor, and then I started online pharmacy course and got job for 9 months, now laid off and have another food supervisor. So I'm good for healthcare stream. Naughty boy. But yes, technically speaking, legit work experience, genuine work experience, and this is part of the healthcare category, then yes, you are eligible for the healthcare category, because the requirement is that you should have 6 months work experience continuous within the last 3 years. If you have it, you're good to go. Nothing. NSNP skilled, even if For NSNP skilled, even if I'm working here, still need to show 3 months of statements. Yes, of course. Even if you're working there, only your employer knows you're working there. Nova Scotia doesn't know. IRCC doesn't know. So yes, you have to show. Do we need to have certain amount as balance? Well, you need to have proof of funds depending on which stream you're applying for, and if there is a requirement of proof of funds. Having payments from Uber part-time needs to be added in work experience? Well, no, not really. You can show that in your personal activities, and that's not a problem. Can I change employer on applied status bridge open work permit, postgraduate work permit? The answer is yes. Your maintained status from postgraduate work permit to bridge open work permit is open to open. So your maintained status is open. If it is open, you are absolutely good to change employers. No problem. CRS 494, file in pool, CEC, work permit is expiring in December. I have a dentist degree from India, planning to leave in December to gain experience in healthcare. Is this a good choice? Very good choice. Excellent. You will gain work experience. You will be eligible in healthcare category. If you gain 1 year of work experience, you will add additional 38 or 50 points depending on your profile. All good. I am a pharmacy assistant, don't have full-time position, but I get more than 30 hours per week. Is that enough to apply CEC and healthcare? I'm pharmacy assistant, don't have full-time, but I get more than 30 hours. Yes, 30 hours regardless is full-time work experience, even if it says part-time, but you get 30 hours, it's full-time. I'm a pharmacy assistant. I don't have full-time position, but I get 30 hours. Yes, absolutely. Same answer. If you are working for 30 hours, even if it says part-time position, you will still be considered as full-time work experience. Do primary applicant need a job to apply for minor study permit? Parents in Canada, spouse on spouse open work permit, minor in India. It's not a specific requirement, but I would strongly recommend to have, because you have to be able to show that you can support the child you're bringing. Otherwise, you'll have to show sufficient proof of funds for the family size that you have. If I have 6 months of tier 3 healthcare experience in Canada and only non-healthcare experience from India and tier 4 in Canada, do I qualify for healthcare category based draw? I am not able to understand. If you have only 6 months of work experience, means you have not completed 1 year of work experience. If you do not have 1 year of work experience, then you might not be eligible in express entry. If your work experience from outside Canada, which is in non-healthcare, if it is for 1 year or more, then based on that, you can create your express entry profile. You will be FSW, Federal Skilled Worker. Then 6 months of work experience in Canada is in healthcare. That will make you eligible in healthcare category. So yes, provided your work experience outside Canada, even if it is non-healthcare, is of at least 1 month continuous, and you are eligible in as a Federal Skilled Worker in express entry. Accidentally didn't upload IELTS while applying for postgraduate work permit, got rejected. I'm in India now. What is the best options along with restoration? Because you are not in Canada, so restoration is out of the question. Restoration is only an option if you are in Canada, because then you go out of status, you need to restore your status. If you're outside Canada, then you don't have status anyway, so there is no restoration. If you are still within 180 days of having completed your studies, and your study permit was valid within that 180 days, then you are eligible to apply for postgraduate work permit. Apply from outside Canada, your postgraduate work permit, you can do that. If I take 3 weeks paid vacation while CEC exam, I don't know what you mean. Sorry. Do we expect any healthcare draw before year end? There was just a draw yesterday. Day before yesterday. I don't want to say, I don't want to see another. I cannot say there will be a draw or not. It looks or feels unlikely. I do not know. IRCC can do anything. I can't tell you whether they will be or not. Is there any issue 3 weeks paid vacation on CEC? IRCC says 2 weeks is acceptable. Anything more than 2 weeks will be at the discretion. But I personally feel 3 weeks should not really be that much of an issue. And if you really feel it's an issue, just work for an extra 1 week so you can compensate for that and then submit your PR application. Paid PharmD clinical internship, but the pay was deducted from my tuition. Can this still count as eligible work experience for express entry? It's going to be very difficult to prove because you say pay was deducted. So I do not know what you mean deducted from my tuition. At the end of the day, you have to be able to prove that you were paid. And that relationship of payment and deduction is something which you will have to establish, which is going to be a bit tricky. The idea is for you to be paid, remuneration, you have to be remunerated. So that relationship is very important to establish here. I mentioned legally separated during my study permit. I also mentioned in my postgraduate work permit. So what kind of documents do I have to give to IRCC for my PR? Well, legal separation, you will have to provide the legal separation agreement as part of your PR application. If this legal separation is outside Canada, then depending on which country it is from, you'll have to see if that legal separation is a legal valid status in that country. Otherwise, divorce petition. But if your spouse is in Canada, then you can get a legal separation agreement made through a lawyer, and then you will have to provide the legal separation agreement as part of your documentation. When I receive the ITA after the work permit is expired and I'm outside Canada, but TRV is valid till 2030, can I still visit back without issue? Yes, you can. You will be visiting back to Canada as a visitor. At the port of entry, the border officer can ask you questions as to why you are coming to Canada, what is the purpose of your visit to Canada. As long as you are able to convince the officer that your intention to be in Canada is temporary, and they are convinced with that, then there is not a problem at all. Leaving after P2 and get ECOPR abroad, is it okay? It's not ideal, but yes, it is okay. It has been seen in a lot of situations. Even IRCC has tweeted. So if you go to IRCC's Twitter account and search back few months back, even they have tweeted that it's okay. It's not the ideal situation, to be very honest, but it's okay. It will create problems, or rather it creates confusion when you're doing your citizenship application, but otherwise it's fine. My wife is the primary applicant. I have 2 years experience showed in profile. I have 2 EE profile in past with heavy duty mechanic and mechanic plus supervisor. Now showing only heavy duty mechanic. Is that a problem? I honestly don't really understand your profile very well. The point is to keep it consistent with all the past profiles that you have had. And if you're not claiming points for any of those periods of work, then make sure you show them in your personal history. That's the best way of keeping it consistent so that you don't get into trouble. CRS 511 postgraduate work permit, expiry 26 June, cybersecurity job, 3 years completing, May 26 will move from Ontario to other provinces, held for PNP, waiting for STEM. Moving to another provinces will help if you have an employer in the other provinces who is willing to support you for PNP. Most of the PNPs require employer support. 3 weeks vacation is continuous or one in Feb, 2 weeks, another in December. It doesn't matter. If you have more than 2 weeks of paid vacation, my recommendation is that when you're completing your work experience, just work for at least 1 more week so that you can compensate for any shortfall if at all IRCC is overzealous. If working under healthcare category after going back home, will IRCC raise questions since not aligned with studies? No, not really. At the end of the day, you have to be able to prove how is it that you are working in a healthcare occupation when you don't even have any background. That is your problem, as in your responsibility to establish how is it that you are working in this occupation if you don't even have any background there, right? So you have to be able to prove that, but you can do it. I got 4 months less on postgraduate work permit due to biometrics validity. Can I apply to get those 4 months? Yes, you can. You can apply for an extension. Make sure you pay extra fee for your biometrics and let IRCC know that you got shorter duration because of this reason. You are paying the biometrics fees so that you can do your new biometrics and then get the extension for your postgraduate work permit. But yes, you can apply. Nothing here. If we apply maintained status after postgraduate work permit expires and got ITA, applied for bridge open work permit, can we travel to India? Yes, you can travel to India. And to return back, you need a valid TRV. And when you do return back to Canada, you would have lost your maintained status. So you will be entering Canada as a visitor, and then you will have to wait for your bridge open work permit to be approved so that you can go back to working. Can passport be stamped in India after getting TRV approved while in Canada? If yes, how much time does it take from Mumbai? Yes, if you get your TRV approved, You can send your passport for stamping in any country. It doesn't matter. It's only for PR applications. You need to take prior authorization. You need to inform IRCC that you want to submit in a different country. But as far as TRV is concerned, if it has been approved, you can send your passport for stamping in any country. How much time it takes, I don't know. I'm not keeping an eye on how much time it takes from Mumbai. You can check with VFS as to how much. I don't think it will take more than 3 to 4 weeks at most. Can we keep 2 applications for permanent residency, spousal sponsorship application in the system? We received AOR for 1. I am unsure. Technical answer, yes, you can. You can have multiple PR applications. IRCC has established that already. However, only one can get approved, then the other one will be cancelled, or they will ask you to withdraw the other one. But to answer your question, yes, you can absolutely submit multiple PR applications. I have 2 years of CEC at 507, work permit expiring in 10 months. I'm a recruiter. Should I wait, hope for OINP, or go back and go get foreign experience? Hoping for OINP, I don't understand why you would hope for OINP. Have you seen your knock code being invited in Ontario? Number 1. Number 2, you think your score would be enough for Ontario? Number 3, you see right now what is happening. And if you were to go back, you would still get invited by Ontario's human capital priorities. So regardless whether you're in or out, because your score is the same. So my recommendation would be to go back, gain foreign work experience. The sooner you start, the sooner you will complete your experience. And in the meantime, if Ontario invites you, well, voila, you can apply through the Ontario. But being in Canada and hoping and waiting, that's of no real consequence. At least I wouldn't recommend. FSW ITA need proof of fund? Yes, absolutely needs proof of fund if you're a federal skilled worker. And money can be in your account or your husband's account or joint account. You will, as long as your husband is part of your application. Have applied for PCC in May and still waiting in the pool. In May 25, I traveled to India with my common law partner. Do we need to apply again? Yes, absolutely yes. You need to apply again before you submit your PR application, because you have traveled after you got your last PCC and you haven't really applied for PR yet. So you really need to apply for a new PCC so that your new PCC covers your entire duration of stay. If Bridge Open Work Permit approved while on maintained status, then can go back to India? I answered this as yes, you can. If it is approved, then when you come back, you can start working. If it is still not approved, then you will be as a visitor. You have to wait for Bridge Open Work Permit to be approved so that you can start working. Postgraduate work permit expiring in August, but spouse were as truck driver on postgraduate work permit. His postgraduate work permit expiring. Any option to extend mine based on him? Unfortunately not. You'll have to check. I don't remember on top of my head if the knock code of truck driver is included. Open work permit, spouse work permits. I don't remember if truck drivers are included. Yes, they are included. So this is the, there you go. Oh, hold on. There you go. On your screens now, it shows this is who can apply. And under tier category 3, you have transport truck drivers included, which basically means, yes, if your spouse is working in Canada as a transport truck driver and has at least 16 months of work permit valid, then you may apply for an open work permit. Applied 1 year ago, didn't get the results, so I went to India to prepare for French. More than 8 months after studies, I have TRV. Same postgraduate work permit question, by the way. I have no idea what we are talking about. I honestly don't remember. We're seeing so many questions. I have no idea what you are referring to about anymore. There is no way I can even find out what your previous question was, to be very honest. The long list of questions. Yeah, no idea. If you're asking me about postgraduate work permit, and if 180 days have already passed since you have completed your studies, then it's going to be a very tricky one to get a postgraduate work permit. IRCC is refusing most of the applications. You can still take a chance, but it's going to be on IRCC whether they approve it or not. Can I submit my PR application while waiting for my Indian PCC? Yes, you can. You will have to add a letter of explanation and you will have to add proof that you have applied for PCC. As I got 3 days short on postgraduate work permit, if I apply for extension, will they approve or reject after a long wait time? They will refuse after a long wait time, because the 3 days you were supposed to get, you've already gotten in your maintained status, and now they have no reason to give you any extension, so they will refuse, and it is absolutely legal. If it was illegal, I would not be telling you to do it. I have 1 year of funds, I have 1 year of trade experience, but can I go back to India and gain social worker experience waiting from India in healthcare? Draw any problem? Technically, yes, you can. You just have to prove how is it that you got that job, and if that job experience or work experience is legit and legal or not. 1 year tier 2 supervisor experience and 8777 offer letter from healthcare just now. Full time, can I leave first job? Schedule issue. You want to leave? Yes, absolutely, you can leave, no problem. I'm not really sure what your question here is. Can you leave your first job? Yeah, you can leave your first job at any point of time, no problem with that. My master's from Canada, do I need to do ECA from back home education for NSNP skilled worker stream? My master's from Canada, do I need to do ECA from back home? No, you don't need to, because you have a master's from Canada, which probably is your highest credential anyway, so you don't need to do any ECA from back home. EEP, NP, CEC. Do I need proof of funds? CECs do not need proof of fund. Please mention that you are a Canadian experience class and therefore you are not required to provide proof of funds. Lived in Hong Kong for 5 years, before 20 years, will PCC be required? No. You need police clearance only for all countries where you have resided within the last 10 years for express entry and most economic PR applications. However, if it is a spousal sponsorship application, you may require for PCC after you turn 18 years of age. So please check which stream and follow the document checklist. I applied for PR under non-EE stream. My work permit expires on December. I'm planning to apply for closed work permit. If received ITA in EE, can I apply for bridge open work permit? I applied for PR under non-EE stream. My work permit expires. I'm planning to apply for a closed work permit. If I received an ITA in EE, can I apply for bridge open work permit? Yes, you can. At the end of the day, if you received your non-express entry under non-restricted nomination, then you can apply for bridge open work permit. If it was restricted, then you will apply for closed work permit. If you get an ITA in express entry, you can submit your PR application, then apply for bridge open work permit. The answer is yes. If I am in India while I receive ITA, can I get a PCC from India and submit it, or how does it work? If you are in India and you are showing your country of residence as India and you submit while you are in India, then you can get a PCC from India and submit. That's how it works. The one who forgot to upload IELTS, 180 days passed. Yes, as I answered to you, if your 180 days have passed, you may still take a chance of submitting your work permit. It is going to be very difficult, because once 180 days have passed, then you have lost your eligibility. So make a humanitarian case. Show them that the reason why you are applying after 180 days is because of IRCC having taken so much of time in making a decision, not because of your fault. So make a sincere request and talk about how much money you have spent, talk about how much effort you have put in to gain that foreign work experience, to get the Canadian, North American labor market exposure, and make a case for humanitarian. You might just get lucky. Any problem as my trade experience in Canada, so can I take social worker experience in India waiting for health draw as my work permit is expiring in Jan 26? As my trades work expires in 2027 under CEC, so that why social work experience in India? Well, as I answered your question earlier, yes, you can. If you are working in India, please make sure your work experience is legit and genuine. Please make sure you maintain all periods of documentation for your work experience. If you have completed any kind of certification or licensing or education to get that work experience, please make sure you keep a record of everything. Take pictures at your work, take testimonials from friends, from colleagues and from your employer, or even from anybody else who you are providing services to as your work. I have 18 months experience in this NOC and 18 months in same NOC outside Canada. Am I eligible for foreign job offer Ontario while applying? The answer to that question is yes, you are, if your employer is eligible. I have CRS score of 521. Can I expect invitation in the coming months? Well, if IRCC does continue with the draws and starts inviting decent size invitations, then yes, it's a possibility. Sorry, Jibril, nothing here. If I take 1 year leave for wedding, can I cover that working? I take 1 year leave for wedding. Can I cover that working 1.1 years? No, of course not. If you take 1 year leave, then you will have to work for 1 more year, right, to get that work experience. My wife is Canadian. She doesn't have any job. Please help. Will she be able to sponsor me? She's pregnant and is due on March 17, and my work permit expires. Will she be able to sponsor me? Well, yes, she will be able to sponsor you. You will have to be able to show funds. She's not working, which is fine. There is no requirement for her to work, but she should have to be able to show available funds, or she have to be able to show that she's employable. So she will have to provide her resumes, her education, her previous work experience. She'll have to make a case to show that how she will be able to support you economically, financially. So show funds, show employability, and yes, she can still sponsor you without a job. I work for a company and yearly income is quite good. Do I need to show bank balance as proof of funds, or job salary is okay? I don't know what application you are applying for, but if you are federal skilled worker, it doesn't matter what kind of income you have, you need to provide proof of funds. If you are CEC, it doesn't matter what kind of income you have, don't need to provide proof of funds. So it all depends on which stream you are applying under. Lots of questions today. Obviously, it continues, and I'm sure I haven't been able to answer a lot of your questions. I would love to do that. What I would like you to do is, after this live stream is over, in the comment section, please come back and post your questions. Throughout today, I will come back and respond to as many questions as I can. Thank you so much for joining in. We will do this again, of course, next week. Until then, stay forever hopeful and take special care of yourself.